Okay, good morning, folks. Before I introduce the governor, there's a couple other people here I want to introduce. Robert Avosa, the superintendent of schools, and Larry Leon, the chief of police for the school system. We've looked at the governor's plan. It's fantastic. I've supported wholeheartedly. I'm very encouraged and happy that the mental health component that's in there will fit right into what our agency's been doing for 4 years, where we formed a mental health unit, where we have specially trained deputies and a mental health professional that are teamed up together to address these mental health issues that are out here on the street. So we're very happy that that component is in there, and we think that it's going to be an added plus to what needs to be done to make sure our children are going to stay safe. So having said that, it's really my honor to introduce the governor. Again, he's shown leadership, as he does in every crisis that arises, come up with a fantastic plan, and it certainly is an honor to have him here today, produce what he did, not only during tragic events like hurricanes, but also in this. So it's my honor to introduce the governor of the great state of Florida, Governor Rick Scott.
I want to thank the sheriff for the opportunity to be here, and what we've done with this horrible tragedy is try to look at success around the state. And Sheriff Bradshaw has been a leader in the issues that we're dealing with right here, whether it's what he's done with regard to the issues with regard to mental health and having teams that deal with that, or also already having a hotline, a web app, a website that people can anonymously provide tips to make sure this never happens again. So I want to thank the sheriff for being here. I want to thank the superintendent for being here. The head of schools is also here for the school district and was part of the team that came up to Tallahassee that helped us come up with the right plan to make sure we do the right thing in the state. I'm real honored to be here with Ryan Petty and his son Patrick. Unfortunately for them, they lost a loved one. Their 14-year-old daughter and sister, Elena, was unfortunately at the school that day. Patrick goes to the school. He's a junior there. And like some of the other parents, Ryan is going to do everything he can to make sure this never happens to another child. He does not want another family to go through what his family is going through right now. And my goal is, with support all around the state and hopefully around the country, that Florida is the place where parents can say, my child can go to school safely. I know if they go to school in this state, they're going to come home safely. And that's what we want for every one of our kids. I said this the other day. One of the first things I did, I guess it was that night, was call both of my daughters, and I said, unfortunately for you, I have grandchildren. Unfortunately for you, you're going to have to teach your children about active shooters. My generation, we didn't have to worry about that. We had other issues, but we didn't have to worry about that. It is tragic what happened in Parkland. 17 family members lost their life in a senseless act. It was pure evil, it was horrific, and you can't imagine what these families are going through right now. Florida has changed, I think this country has changed. We've got to do everything we can to make sure that this never happens again. I've had the opportunity to sit down. We had working groups in Tallahassee with law enforcement, with educators, with mental health professionals to come up with a plan that would completely change the direction of the state to make sure our schools and our students are safe. I've met with families that have lost their loved ones. I've met with students that are very active. I've met with teachers. I've met with parents. I think everybody's saying the same thing. We have got to make a change. We cannot take a chance that this could ever happen again in our state. I'm working with the legislature. We are in our last, it's supposed to end next Friday. My goal is by next Friday that we have major reform in this state. And that's why with the input I receive from all around the state, I put out a plan on Friday that will be a significant change and hopefully do everything we can to make sure this doesn't happen again. The reforms in my plan will make it virtually impossible for someone dealing with mental illness or somebody that's threatening others or threatening themselves will have access to a gun, and they shouldn't have access to a gun. I don't know anyone that believes that an individual like that should have access to a gun. My plan is a $500 million investment by the state. The first thing people say is, do we have the money? I walked in, this is my 8th and last legislative session as governor. In contrast, my first year, we had a $4 billion budget deficit. This year, I walked in with projected $3 billion more of recurring revenues over recurring expenses. And since then, our revenues have come out that it's estimated their revenues are up, I think, close to $500 million. So we have the money. We have to spend the money to make sure we do the right things here. I want to increase the collaboration between sheriffs, local police. In the case of a place like Palm Beach County, the police that work out of our school district, our schools, our Department of Children and Family, and Department of Juvenile Justice. I want significant law enforcement present at every school in the state. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. We have to have law enforcement present at each and every public school that we have in this state. And we have the resources to be able to do that. We need to make significant investments in school safety. Metal detectors, bulletproof glass, steel doors, upgraded locks. We've got to work with our sheriff's department, work with our local police, work with the school districts that have their own police and say, what is the best way to do this, and make sure it happens. We cannot take a chance that this does not happen. The sheriff already has it here in Palm Beach County, but we need a statewide see something, say something, anonymous, dedicated hotline, website, and mobile app. And the sheriff has been gracious, he's already invested the resources here to do this, and wants to work to help us get this all across the state. We need significant investment in mental health initiatives, both at our school, in our schools, and our Department of Children and Families. So my plan would have significant investments in our schools, where every student had the opportunity to meet with a mental health counselor and get counseling if they need it. I want to do similar to what the sheriff has done here. I want a DCF employee, somebody that is knowledgeable in mental health issues, embedded in the sheriff's office, so there's better coordination. Now here, Sheriff Bradshaw has already been doing it. My goal is, one, massive changes in school safety. It'd be complete change in how safe our schools are. And it's with law enforcement presence, and it's hardening the schools. Significant more resources for mental health. So somebody that is having issues knows there's somebody to talk to hopefully we can make sure this doesn't happen again. And I clearly want to keep the guns out of the hands of people dealing with mental illness. Somebody that's going to threaten themselves or others. I've had a family-ish member that's had similar issues, and I know it's very difficult, but we've got to do the right thing here and make sure they don't have access to a gun. Again, we have the resources. We've got to have the will to do this. There's nothing more important, I think, right now in our state, probably in our nation, than do everything we can to say this can never happen again. No evil, horrific act like this can never happen again. So I call on everybody, call your House member, call your senator. We have a little over a week left in session. Say this is the most important thing we can get done this year. We have got to make sure we invest the dollars and we have the policies that work to make sure we do everything we can to make sure this doesn't happen again. So now let me introduce Ryan Petty. I had actually had the opportunity to meet Ryan and Patrick last fall after Hurricane Irma. They and their church went around the state, and Elena did. I didn't meet her that day, but Elena did the same thing, but they went to places and just tried to help people that were in trouble. And we met in Everglades City, and if you remember, anybody that was helping down there, you were cleaning out 3 foot of muck in homes down there. And their church and others in the LDS community were big helps. I saw them down there. I saw them especially in the Keys, and they were very helpful. So it was an honor to meet them then. It's horrible that we had to meet again on these circumstances, and my heart goes out to their family. But let me introduce Ryan Petty.
Good morning. There's about a thousand things I'd rather be doing today than this, but let me say that I'm here today because I want to honor the memory of my daughter Elena. This is a last service project for her. The governor mentioned her work to help families affected by Hurricane Irma and her commitment to community service. And I'm here to honor her today. This time must be different. After every previous school shooting, we inevitably get mired down in a political debate over the Second Amendment and gun control, and it leads us nowhere. Emotions eventually fade, political will subsides, and we have another shooting. So I'm supporting what Governor Scott's trying to do here, and I thank him for his leadership in trying to change the dialogue to school safety. What can we do? What measures can we take to make sure this never happens again? I want to be the last parent that has to get up and say he lost a daughter in a school shooting. So we need to harden the schools. We need to keep guns away from those that would hurt themselves and others. And we need to support mental health initiatives to get folks that are having these thoughts the help they need. This time must be different. And I appreciate the opportunity to speak on that today and honor Elena's memory. Thank you.
So I really do believe it's different now. I believe we're all going to show up and good things are going to happen. I'm going to do my best to make sure it happens in our legislative session. And I think Florida should be the model for the country. So we'll be glad, any of us will be glad to answer any questions anybody has.
Governor, you have said you don't support arming teachers, yet that is something that's part of the legislature's plans. Would you sign something that includes that?
Well, I'll review whatever, when the bill gets to me, I'll review it at that point. In our meetings up in Tallahassee with law enforcement, the first thing what I heard was everybody says we've got to have law enforcement presence. That's the most important thing. We've got to have individuals that are trained, that have the resources to do their job. That's the most important thing to do. I think that's what we should be focused on. I think teachers should teach, law enforcement should do their job. I don't know if anybody wants to add anything to that.
Yeah. Agree 100%.
Yeah.
Will you call a special session if you don't get the concrete guidance Friday?
We're going to get this passed. So whatever I have to do, we're going to deal with the issues. We're going to deal with law enforcement presence. We're going to deal with hardening our schools. We're going to deal with the mental health issues. I'm going to do everything I can, whether we have to do it through a regular session, a special session. I'm not going to let up.
Governor, can I add something?
Yep.
So as the school superintendent here in Palm Beach County, I agree wholeheartedly with the governor that teachers need to be focused on teaching. There is a major difference between a person who is trained in target practice than engaging in an active gunfight. I heard that right from the mouth of Ric Bradshaw, who I've got great respect for. And so we do not support the fact that teachers should carry weapons in Palm Beach County.
As the school police chief, I had a couple conversations with committees at different schools, even one last night, and I echo the sentiment the governor just said, that teachers should be teaching. Law enforcement should be the person being on that campus, performing those functions, building relationships with the students as our officers, our school district police officers do. We build relationships, we help these kids, we mentor them, we counsel them, we provide services, we look for additional services, we utilize the sheriff's office, we have great partnerships. And so if we need assistance with his unit for behavioral health unit, we refer numerous kids to him because he has the capabilities. Will we like those capabilities? Yes, because I think it's a sole partnership to work through it. So I support increasing mental health funding, definitely target hardening. We've been doing target hardening for a long time in the school district, and most definitely having a school police officer on every campus. That's our sole function, to be on those campuses as the sole law enforcement jurisdiction there. So.
Sheriff Bradshaw?
Yes.
You said you endorsed the governor's plan.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any thoughts on some of the other topics that people brought up as far as gun control? Do you have anything on
Well, the big issue is, who do you put the gun in the hands of? That goes back to the mental health issue. And clearly, not everybody that has mental health issues is violent, but there are a segment of those, and those are the people that we've got to keep the guns out of their hands. So it's a matter of identifying those people. We have a great track record here that if we identify somebody, our behavioral sciences unit will be involved, which is a mental health unit, and get them the help they need. If they have to be Baker acted, we will put them there. So it's a matter of identifying the people that guns should not be in the hands of. But I will echo the last thing is, definitely we have to have trained law enforcement officers in the schools, whether it's school police, deputies, a combination thereof. Think about it. Why do you have uniformed officers at airports? It's a deterrent, right? There's a lot of aspects here. Uniformed trained officers have radios for communication. They have the training. They have the armament. They know how to take action, and that's their sole purpose there. It's not a dual purpose where they teach and protect. They're there to protect. So there's a lot of reasons why uniformed, trained law enforcement is the way to go.
Do you want to talk about it with your mental health team at all? Do you just want to talk with them? Yes.
Are you concerned about municipalities like Coral Gables and Coral Springs proposing their own gun control measures, which would be in conflict with state preemption laws?
I understand everybody wants to figure out the right thing to do here. I think there's a lot of things you need to do at the state level. So I believe that, you know, my goal is going to be to try to bring everybody together to have a statewide response to this. So that would be my focus. Yes.
There's a lot of talk about change, and do you think that Parkland victims or students are being exploited by any particular politician or group or agenda?
First off, your heart goes out to them. I mean, if you just think about what they went through, some of them, like I visited some of them in the hospital that saw, you know, their friends murdered. I visited some in Tallahassee, and I've talked to some down here that saw what happened, but they fortunately were not injured. I've talked to parents. I mean, you can understand how some people are just, they're concerned, they're scared. They don't ever want this to happen to them or anybody they know again. I tell people all the time, get involved in this process. If everybody shows up, not everybody's going to agree, but get involved in the process and you'll have a better solution. What I try to do is listen to those and bring in experts to come out with a plan that I believed was common sense, that would do exactly what we need. We need to have our schools safe. We got to have our schools safe. And as the sheriff said, the individuals that are dealing with mental issues or threatening themselves or others, they shouldn't have access to a gun. It's common sense. And so that's what I came out with on Friday. I'm going to work every day, and I know there's a lot of people doing this. There's a lot of people going to Tallahassee, and there's a lot of people calling their legislators. I hope everybody does. You'll end up with a better product. Thanks, everybody.
All right, let me finish this up and tell Governor, thank you. Let me put the final touch on this with a short story on how this system can work and how it should work. The day after this tragic event happened in Parkland, we got some information that was related to the school board, which came to us through the school police, that there was a 17-year-old that had been expelled from school earlier during the year here, and that somebody had seen this individual with a firearm in his hand, and that he had made some remarks about going back there to finish the job. We were asked to see if we could locate this individual. We did. We located him with his mother. The behavioral sciences unit went there. We were able to locate the firearm, which turned out to be an air pistol, but nobody knew that. After extensive conversations with this juvenile and the mother, we determined that the best place for him to be was at mental health, and that's where we took him. That's how the system should work, all right? If everything was done right, Parkland wouldn't have happened. If the information would have got to the right people, maybe that wouldn't have happened. You have to get the information, and then somebody's got to act on it, but they got to have the resources to do that. That's why this app is so important, because that information goes to the school police and then with us, and then we have the resources along with them to act on it and get the people where they need to be. So the system will work, the resources will be there, but you got to take action on it. Now, the second thing you got to do is you got to make sure that everything that you have in place, all your plans, all your policies, the way you want things to happen, that it's the right way to do business. Tomorrow, we're going to make a major announcement here in the morning on how we're going to ensure that what we do is the right thing to do, the proper way to do it, that our policies and procedures are right, that the information transfer is right, and we're going to make sure that everything we're doing is doing the right thing, and if there's any gaps, fill them. And we'll be making that announcement tomorrow. So I want to thank the governor again for being here, along with the school board, police, and the superintendent. And this is going to be a good thing, and I agree with the governor. It's going to get passed, and we're going to move forward. Thank you very much.